Do you ever notice when you're stressed or frustrated or angry, you behave in a way that doesn't feel like the real you, making you feel like you have multiple personalities? These are called parts, and we all have them. Internal family systems helps us to recognize these parts and pull them together and integrate them for a better sense of emotional well-being. In this video, I'm going to introduce my parts, and I'm going to describe their personalities and why they came to be. Stick around till the end of the video so you can get information about how to start finding your own parts. Hi, I'm Kristen, and welcome to my channel. I have a background as a nurse educator and a degree in psychology, and I'm passionate about mental health. But more importantly, I have survived my own past traumas. I've largely healed from severe anxiety, depression, and PTSD, and I want to share the things that I've learned along the way so that you can heal too and lead a more joyful life. There's a link in the show notes down below. I have created a resource guide that contains information about most of the things that I have done to heal my mental health, and I want to give access to those things to you as well. We all have parts, according to Richard Schwartz, who's the founder of Internal Family Systems. And these parts have specific roles and functions that are here to protect us from harm or pain. By recognizing and healing our parts, we can achieve greater self-awareness and emotional well-being. I believe that getting to know my parts and naming them really helped me to control my behavior. And it has helped me interact in my relationships, especially when I'm in conflict, in a much healthier way. I think it's improved my relationships, and I highly recommend it. If you're in a lot of conflict on a regular basis, this is something that you should consider. The first time I heard about internal family systems was during the pandemic. I was driving around in my car, listening to this podcast, Getting Curious with Jonathan Van Ness, and they had Richard Schwartz as a guest one day on the podcast, and it really captured my attention. It was a very stressful time, as you all probably remember. I was having some conflicts in my relationship, and this conversation really piqued my interest. I went out and bought the book right afterwards and started studying about parts. I also included a picture here about the podcast We Can Do Hard Things. Recently, they had Richard Schwartz on as a guest, and there's a couple of episodes where Richard Schwartz guides them through kind of listening and going internally and identifying and talking to some of their parts. So it's a really good illustration of what the process of starting to kind of look at and identify your parts is like. There are three main types of parts. First, there's managers. Managers act proactively to try to prevent harm or emotional pain. And they can do this by being perfectionistic, they might be people-pleasing, or they might use self-criticism to push you to work harder. The second type are firefighters. Firefighters react impulsively to overwhelming emotions, and they try to distract or soothe. So they can do this by fighting or deflecting. They might overeat, use alcohol, or binge watch television. Then the third type is exiles. Exiles hold painful emotions and memories, and they are more hidden away to protect the self. So they tend to use avoidance, and they tend to isolate. The first personality and part I want to introduce you to is Stinkerbell. Stinkerbell is the part of me that's a little imp. She likes to pick on people. She likes to prank people. So Stinkerbell's motives, let's talk about those. She acts out to get attention. She's mischievous as a way to be noticed and acknowledged. She uses humor or mischief to deflect from serious and painful issues, lightening the mood to avoid dealing with difficult emotions. And she exercises her power to control or retaliate. This was a common theme for me. I loved controlling my brothers. I think it was one of the only ways that I could. I was the youngest of three kids. I had two older brothers that picked on me, and I remember standing outside the bathroom door. If my brothers would go into the bathroom, I would stand outside the bathroom door and wait and jump out at them when they would come out to scare the crap out of them. And that gave me so much pleasure, and I think it's because it was just the one way that I could control them. The second part I want to introduce you to today is Chuckles. Chuckles obviously is full of laughter. Chuckles laughs at inappropriate times. She laughs when she's under duress or stress. I have a vivid memory of childhood when one of my oldest brother got injured. He fell on his bike and he got a concussion, but he had a contusion on the back of his head and was bleeding and came into the house. I remember my mom went and got him from his bike and brought him into the house, and he was bleeding and everything. And I remember going outside and finding a corner, and I was laughing. And I talked to my other brother about the same instance, and he also, on that occasion, went into a corner by himself and laughed to kind of offset the stress. And I often do this now if I'm talking about something stressful, or a topic that I know somebody else isn't going to like. I will kind of laugh while I'm doing it. So let's walk through Chuckles' motives here. Chuckles uses laughter to deflect stress and anxiety. She tries to lighten the mood and reduce the intensity of stressful situations. She laughs to distract herself and others from the seriousness of the situation and to shift focus and avoid confronting difficult emotions. And then she instinctively laughs to relieve the pressure she feels during stressful situations. Next personality is Dukes. So Dukes, it's like put your dukes up. Dukes is a fighter. And Dukes is aggressive. She wants to protect herself. By attacking first, she can prevent herself from getting hurt. She doesn't have the tools or strategies to handle conflicts constructively, so she resorts to mean words and unstrategic fighting because she doesn't know it any other way. So oftentimes our parts can be kind of locked in an early part of our life, and I know that my part Dukes is not very intelligent. She's pretty young and inexperienced, and so her fighting tactics are not very good. She also avoids showing vulnerability. She fears that being open or gentle could lead to more hurt. Susie is a soother. Susie is the part of me that if I'm feeling stressed or depressed or I've got a whole lot of things that I need to do, I'm going to find a reason to avoid it and either make a really nice meal or bake something because that makes me feel better. Susie alleviates depression and stress and anxiety by offering comfort. She turns to food or other activities to reduce emotional distress and create a sense of safety. And she distracts from painful emotions or thoughts to protect from feeling overwhelmed. Next is Justice. Justice feels it's necessary to explain every decision she's making in great detail. It's actually really annoying to people to have to listen to Justice. But it's important to Justice and this part of me to make sure that people know that I have been making good decisions and that I've thought about things and that I'm making strong and good decisions. So motives behind Justice. Justice feels the need to justify her actions to gain validation and approval from others. She's afraid of being judged or criticized. By providing detailed explanations, she tries to avoid the negative feedback and defend her choices. She feels in control when she can explain her actions. Detailed explanations help her feel secure and confident in her decisions. And lastly is Little Chrissy. This is a photo of me as a child. I'm sitting between my two brothers, and I put a photo here because I think of Little Chrissy as really being my core self, my young, kind of scared self. And Little Chrissy's motives: Little Chrissy follows rules and remains quiet to feel safe. She believes that adhering to rules will protect her from harm or negative consequences, and by being quiet and anxious, she tries to avoid situations that might lead to conflict or discomfort. Her behavior is a way to minimize potential threats. So now let's talk about how you can discover your parts. Parts tend to show up during times of stress, when you're triggered, when you're maybe in an argument or a conflict, or you're making big decisions. So when you're feeling really challenged and you're feeling kind of emotional or just have strong feelings, pay attention and be curious. Those are the times to be curious and really notice what your behaviors are. Especially if you don't feel like yourself, like you're kind of in your core self, that's a signal that you probably are acting through a part. So be curious. How to start? again, like I said, be curious. I gave you a couple of notes about podcasts. There's links in the show notes below. There's the books you can read. There's a section about internal family systems on the resource list that I've linked below, so you can start reading books. There are journaling is a great way to kind of become more mindful of your behaviors. If you start feeling like maybe you were in a part, you can journal about it. It's about finding patterns. Practicing mindfulness will help you notice when you're acting through a part. And then there's community. There's actually a Facebook group that you can join to confer with other folks about internal family systems. And I'm also going to be linking that on the resource list. One more reminder about the resource list down below. If you click the link, I will send it to you for free. And please click the subscribe button, click the thumbs up so that you can share this and more people will get access to it. And then please leave a comment. If you have any experience with IFS, or you think you have a part that you're ready to name and you want to share it with all of us, please leave a comment.